This episode is brought to you by Madrone Art Bar. Tired of the same old bar scene? Head to Madrone Art Bar at Divisadero and Fell, where the lights hit different and the vibe never quits. Regularly voted one of San Francisco's best bars by SF Gate, The Guardian, and anyone who actually gets out. They've got live bands who bring the heat, DJs who light up the dance floor, and piano players who tickle the ivories like nobody else. Add impromptu theater, sketch Tuesdays, big brainy talks, and art shows that keep the city's creative pulse beating. It's a whole damn creative ecosystem. And yeah, the happy hour is banging every damn day. Madrone. Music, art, drinks, energy. Real San Francisco soul. Come enjoy nightlife the old-fashioned way, where you actually meet people face to face.
San Francisco was always this vision of paradise in my mind, and so I had this chance to visit. My summer after my junior year, I was doing an internship, and they had like a trip for like a few days. And I was like, I'm definitely gonna go.
That was Saikat Chakrabarti, who's running to represent San Francisco in Congress. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco, a podcast about artists, activists, and working people who make this city what it is. Besides really liking what I had been seeing about Saikat and his campaign platform, I noticed something in his bio that really stood out for me. He and I are both from the same city in Texas. In this episode, Saikat introduces himself, first through his parents' and grandparents' stories. He shares his parents' migration journey, which eventually took them to Fort Worth, Texas, where Saikat was born. Be sure to check back Thursday for part 2. Here's Saikat Chakrabarti.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll start with my parents. So my parents grew up in India, and my dad was actually born in Bangladesh, in Dhaka. And he was born just a year before partition, which is something not a lot of people here know about, but basically after the Indian Revolution, they had the incredibly stupid idea of splitting up the country based on ethnic and religious bounds. And the result, as you can suspect, was mass displacement. And so all the Hindus from that part got kicked out of Bangladesh pretty much overnight, and all the Muslims from India were getting kicked out at the same time. Mass sectarian violence, millions of people displaced. And so my dad's family, they were sort of lucky in that they didn't face the violence, because my grandfather was a teacher.
Okay.
And his students came to him the night before being like, there's going to be a mob coming for your house tomorrow, so you guys got to go. So they fled overnight with whatever they could carry.
He's an academic.
Well, he was a just a public school, like high school teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they ended up going to Calcutta and squatting really in an abandoned Muslim dentist home. Presumably he had to flee overnight as well.
Right.
Yeah, going the other way.
But refugees helping refugees.
Kind of, yeah.
Basically,
Basically. And that's where my dad's story really started. He lived the first several years of his life, and he was a big family, a family of 10, living in that Muslim dentist house. And then their break really was because my grandfather was a teacher. He managed to get some money to start a public school there, largely for all the refugee kids who were living in that neighborhood.
Okay.
And I like to sort of joke that got them the money to upgrade to a one-bedroom apartment for their family of 10. And, and so they all squeezed into their, in their tiny little room. And
so your dad has 9 siblings?
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
9 siblings. And,
so a family of 12 total.
Family of 12
assuming
total.
Your grandmother was there too.
Yes, yeah. Family of 12 total. And I mean, that one-bedroom apartment later on was wild because, the tradition in India back then was after you get married, wife usually lives with the husband's family. Right. At some point there were like 20 people living in this place, which is wild. And kids started being born there. I mean, I go back, I've seen this place. One of my uncles still lives there, and I cannot imagine it. I'm like, how is it possible? Just like people stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
But the thing that was incredible about that whole thing, because I go back and I visited that part of Calcutta with my dad, and when I walk around, people still recognize him. And this is like a bustling part of Calcutta. You know, it's
Yeah.
like thousands of people there. And people will recognize my dad because they know what my grandfather did for them, right? It was such a big deal to have a school there that gave some out to people living in just poverty in that region, right?
Right.
And that, you know, story and kind of the story of my dad's struggle and my mom, I mean, I didn't talk about my mom much just because she didn't have it as bad as him.
Okay.
But she also grew up, you know, very poor, going to like a dirt school type of thing. But, you know, those stories of their struggles and what it took to overcome and really how community really came together to help each other in the face of massive political failure, state failure, right?
Right.
That shaped a lot of, I think, my values and what I grew up
100%.
with, and
Yeah.
and I think I saw it, you know, even in my childhood, because my dad really ended up getting a lucky break, right? Like he was, to back up a bit, like, you know, back then, the U.S. actually had these immigration offices all over the world.
Okay.
And it's really hard to imagine this today.
Right.
But we were recruiting people to come to this country.
Yes.
You know,
I'm old enough to remember.
Yeah, I mean,
but some of my listeners might not be.
We had just put a man on the moon. We had built the interstate highway system. We had decades of wages going up, and we were so optimistic that we were like, "Please come help us build." And so it wasn't like my dad got recruited. My dad's friend took him to one of these offices where this nice lady like pitched him on the American dream, got him to apply for a visa.
This is still in Calcutta?
This is still in Calcutta,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And so that's how my family came here.
Okay.
And that was a lucky break because, you know, when I go back and I visit in Calcutta, I meet my dad's friends and siblings and all hardworking, smart people who didn't get that and never managed to make it out. But
a little bit of luck, a little bit of whatever someone saw in your dad too.
Yeah,
like
it's a
which I think is
combination.
life. That's life.
That's life, right? Like it's not. That's the thing. It's always a combination of you got to work hard, you got to put in your own effort, but the structures exist, and you have to. And the structures are set up to work to not allow everybody to succeed. It's
and
only
you
a
have
set
to try
people.
a little bit to get a break.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Can we hear quickly how your parents met?
It was an arranged marriage. Yeah.
Okay.
And
In
so-
Calcutta.
In
still.
Calcutta.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And
So their parents knew each other, or
their parents, I think, had
part
a
of a
common
community?
friend. And back then, you know, the way it worked was my mom showed up and met my dad very briefly. I don't know. I guess the parents hit it off as more likely the case, and then there was like a wedding in the field with all their families that took place a week later.
I bet you it was an awesome wedding.
Oh,
Awesome. Have you seen pictures and stuff?
There's no pictures of it.
Oh, okay,
There's no
okay.
pictures of it. I've
But
only
I
heard
bet it was
descriptions.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your dad, so they were already married when your dad was, let's just say, recruited or
The
picked.
first time that my dad went to the immigration office, they were not yet married.
Okay.
That was, I think, when it was my dad right after college, I want to say.
Okay.
And
Bachelor.
he applied, he's a bachelor, and so he applied for that visa, and then he ended up working in India for several years, and then the visa came in the mail a few years later.
Okay.
And at that point, he was married, and it was a big decision because at that point, my dad was pretty much the sole earner in his family, so he was keeping this whole family up.
All
afloat.
his family.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so it was a big risk, you know. Like
Yeah.
I think most of his family did not want him to leave because they were worried. You know, it's such a you have no idea what you're gonna get in America. But that was like how powerful that dream was of America. Was you're willing to leave everything behind, take this huge risk, and he didn't have any job lined up in the U.S. Right? You just knew you could show up. He showed up with $8 in his pocket. I used to tell the story that I was like, he showed up with literally $20 in his pocket. And recently I saw my dad, and he was like, actually, I got to fact check you. It was $8. And so it was $8.
Truth is still important to some of us.
Yeah. and so, you know, he showed up, slept on his friend's couch in New York, walked around with a resume in Manhattan for a couple weeks, and got a job. And that's how it worked.
Got a job doing what? Was his kind of...
He's an engineer.
Engineer,
Yeah, so
okay.
he studied civil engineering in college. And his first job was working for a company that was, I think, building like skyscrapers and buildings in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big thing there.
Yeah.
Big industry.
Exactly.
Okay, and can you situate sort of, at least by decade, or if you know a precise year that your dad came over?
Yeah, my dad came over in 1979.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the end of Carter.
Yes.
A lot of shit going on in the U.S.
Yeah.
at that moment.
Yeah.
So
And it was interesting because my dad initially was going to come over earlier. He applied to and got accepted to Berkeley for a master's program. And then Nixon became president. And my dad had a full ride, and they were going to pay for his plane ticket. And then I don't know the exact details, but apparently Nixon did something to cut some funding, so they couldn't pay for the plane ticket anymore. And my dad's like, well, that's going to bankrupt me, so he couldn't come.
Yeah.
So made it out eventually.
So he came so it's 1979. Your dad's married. Did your mom come over with him right away, or?
Soon after. Yeah.
And did they already have children?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah. So
they came over childless.
And
New York City.
my sister was born here in Queens, in New York.
Okay.
And, they had just come from India, so they didn't know about winter and snow.
Oh, right.
So, my mom
learned real fast.
Yeah, my mom was walking in the snow to the hospital wearing a sari, which is not a warm garment, while she was pregnant, but, that's how they made it work.
That's women.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just what women do.
Yeah. I mean, the wild thing is, this story, I'm telling my parents' immigrant story. This was the story for basically everybody that was coming at that time. And
it's a version.
Yeah.
For sure. It's their version.
It really is. And there's so much similarity to so many people who came over. And it was like this constant struggle, but it was productive struggle. It was towards this dream of having a better life for your kids, because you knew that's what you're going to get. Right.
And there's one aspect of that story of their kids that we'll get into in a minute. I'm just curious. I'm curious if you'd like. Can you say your parents' names and your sister's name?
Sure.
Because I think that's cool if people are willing to share.
Yeah. My dad's name's Samir. My mom's name is Seema, and my sister's name is Urmi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So your sister. So now your parents are. Maybe in their 20s, 30s probably.
Yeah.
They've got a daughter in Queens.
Yes.
And then what?
And so then they were living there. They had their friends, and then I think my dad visited Pittsburgh in the summer, and there was some company there that I was hiring, and there was a better job. And he loved Pittsburgh in the summer, and then they moved in the winter, and then they realized that they did not want to live in Pittsburgh.
That naggy winter thing kept happening.
Yeah, and eventually, I think they went the opposite direction. They're like, all right, how far south can we go? And so they went to Texas. And at the time, there were a lot of South Asian families moving to Texas, largely from two things. One was the hotel and motel industry and gas stations, which were hiring a lot of people from South Asia, and also just the nuclear power plants. So it's funny, you can actually find South Asian communities around the U.S. based on where there's nuclear power plants.
Yes.
So initially he moved to Houston for a bit, and then eventually made his way up to Fort Worth, because there was a power plant about an hour outside of Fort Worth.
Yes, Comanche Peak.
Comanche Peak, yeah, it no longer called that, but it used to be Comanche Peak.
Oh, God. Thank you. I mean, so many problems.
Yeah.
Just for listeners, so this is, in addition to just, the honor of having you on the podcast, this is interesting, and it's a first-time thing for me, having done this show for 8 years. I've never had anyone on the show who's from where I'm from. So it's rare to even meet people in San Francisco who are from Fort Worth. But there's going to be a lot that in this next segment that I'm like, yeah, that. Yeah, and why don't we have breakfast tacos out here? Anyway, okay, so, and were you born in Fort Worth?
I was born in Fort Worth.
Okay, which hospital? See, it's already annoying.
Harris Methodist. We're going to do this whole thing.
Wait,
Holy
really?
Shit,
holy shit.
Wait, how old are you, Jeff?
I'm 52, so
okay,
probably a little older. Yeah.
But you're close to my sister's age.
Okay.
All right, we're going to have to do this thing.
Let's do it.
Where'd you go to school?
So I lived one block from... my parents are in the suburbs. They're still in that house now.
That's
in
amazing.
a place called Wedgwood. I don't know if you know that neighborhood.
Yeah, I lived technically in Wedgwood, I think, or very close to Wedgwood for a while.
Okay, the W streets.
Yeah, what was my street called? I can't remember what the street was called.
There's a few that aren't W's, and I'm like, that's weird. No, so elementary, Bruce Schulke Elementary.
Okay.
Where, among other things, I played football, which doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
Then I think it's called Wedgwood Middle School.
Yeah, I went to Wedgwood Middle for a year.
No way.
Yeah.
What year?
7th grade. 7th grade, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So starting in I did 6th through 8th there, and starting in 6th grade, I shunned all organized sports because I started skateboarding. And then that eventually, and then I went to Southwest High School,
right,
where skating kind of took a backseat to playing bass in punk rock
Trojans, right?
bands.
Was it the Trojans?
Interesting story. So, the year before my freshman year, when I was in 8th grade, my brother was there, and that was '88, I believe. And the mascot was Rebels, with like a dude holding a Confederate flag, like straight up.
Wow.
And
I did not know that.
And anyway, so in '88, right the year before I got there, some students who, it's like amazing to think about this now, in a suburb of Fort Worth, Texas, were like, "That's fucked up. Let's get rid of that Confederate flag."
Yeah.
And they did it. They did it.
Good
So
for them.
by the time '89 that I started going to Southwest High School, we were still called the Rebels, but no Confederate flag.
Okay.
You're like, okay, well, we can get behind that. Sure, whatever. It's just whatever. Jocks and stuff. Yeah, so who
Right.
cares? Then it was either my junior or senior year. I'm not quite sure because I don't remember. Some really upstanding students at Southwest High School, in the middle of a pep rally, which I wasn't in because I was like a punk rocker who, like, unveiled a Confederate flag in the middle of a pep rally, like in the auditorium from a big projection screen.
Wow.
And essentially a riot broke out,
Holy crap.
as it should.
Yeah.
And the long story, slightly shorter, is that then we decided to change the mascot.
Good idea.
So that was fucked up enough to be like, we need to scrap the whole thing. Now I believe they're called Raiders.
Raiders.
Which in
That's what it
'92 was, it was like Oakland/LA Raiders. It
Right.
was like I was like, oh, we're going in the opposite direction.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are my schools: Bruce Schulke, Wedgwood Middle, and Southwest
Southwest.
High.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Fort Worth.
Fort
Holy
Worth.
shit. When I saw that in your bio, I was like, what?
The funny thing is, growing up, my rep from Fort Worth was Kay Granger.
Yep.
Who is still there, and I don't know if you saw in the news, she was the one who was in a retirement home while
While
still
in
in
Congress.
Congress. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
When I was younger, maybe that age when she was your rep, it was a dude called Jim Wright. Does that name ring a bell? Gigantic eyebrows, like
yeah.
coming out. But he was Speaker of the House for a minute,
Yeah. Now I remember.
which was weird when I moved here, and I was like, and then Pelosi eventually became Speaker of the House. I was like, I've lived two places.
So you are the key.
Where yes, I need
creates
to
the
be
speaker.
where the. Although I don't want to live in Louisiana.
Right.
Well, not that part of it. Anyway, okay, we digress. So, tell us about growing up in Fort Worth, because I'm sure your experience was somewhat different than mine.
I mean, honestly, one of the things that I think is always interesting about talking about your childhood is it's the only childhood you know,
Yep.
right? So you can't compare it to what it could have been.
You
And
can now, but not at the time.
Not,
You're
yeah,
just
exactly.
like, this is my reality.
Exactly. And I honestly can't complain. I mean, growing up in Fort Worth back then, I had a great group of friends. I knew them all, and I knew my block. And
Did you say the mall?
yeah,
Which mall?
Hewlin Mall.
Hewlin, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
where
yeah.
we'd go hang out.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's interesting because, like, growing up, there would be some small versions of racism that you'd see, right?
Sure.
And I kind of distinguish. This is sometimes controversial to say, but I kind of distinguish between people who mean well but don't know any better racism and
Sure.
like malicious racism. And I'd say most of the racism I faced was in the former camp, was coming out of a place of people were just curious, And I don't really like think anything negative of that.
Sure.
I think it's honestly coming from a good place, and I'd say like the community in general was accepting and was very open to. There's a bunch of South Asian kids that went to my high school, and that was great. Like the teachers loved it. We never faced anything really bad about it. And I went to an extremely diverse high school. It was probably like 80% African American, about 10 or 15% Asian. And then,
Which high school?
Dunbar High.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Dunbar. When I tell people now that my neighborhood and my schools, they might have been like around 50% white, but like there were Hispanic kids, there were East Asians of different stripes, there were black, like plenty of black. It surprises me even. I'm like knowing how things work.
That's, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think Texas is a very diverse state.
Sure.
Right? And if you go to a place like Houston or even Dallas or Fort Worth, you see the pockets of, it really is a melting pot of like all these different cultures. And I think some of I feel like the politics in that state, because when I was there, we had a Democrat for governor. We had Ann Richards, right?
Yep.
And it's really, there has been this backlash from, I think, now this feeling of, the immigrants and minorities are actually taking power away from us rather than just coming here and being part of society with us,
right?
Whatever how they phrase it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly had a great childhood, and my childhood was, family, school, and then we did have our like Bengali American community, which is where a lot of my friends come from, or friends at that time were from, and in fact, my best friend from childhood lives downstairs from me today.
Oh,
yeah, we have a little commune, and it's great.
Another Fort Worther.
Well, he actually grew up in Rusk, Texas. Which
okay.
Rusk was rougher than Fort Worth for him.
Yeah, is that near Fort Worth?
It's near Tyler. That's the nearest. So it's East Texas. Okay. It's like a town of 3,000 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we've covered Fort Worth pretty well, probably as much as people want to listen to. So
right.
So
we could keep going.
Oh yeah, that's a spin-off podcast. No, but so for you, what happened after Dunbar?
Yeah, so in high school, I'd say my world was basketball, hip hop, and math. So those were my interests. And
I wish I could be younger and have been your friend. Those are awesome.
Well, I don't know. Skateboarding sounds way more fun, to be honest. But
we could merge the two.
We could. I wanted to be a skateboarder, but never quite got into it. And it wasn't cool enough. But I ended up going to college at Harvard, which I did not expect. I kind of applied on a whim, as all my friends went to UT. I was getting ready to go to UT. And college was a big culture shock because, like, I grew up in this community that was working and middle class, and I don't know, it's a different culture, right? And then you go to a place like Harvard, and it's very different. A lot of people coming from a lot of money, a lot of people who have very different interests from me, And so for the first year of college, I just didn't talk to anybody.
Wow! Just head down in the books, or
just head down. I was like, these aren't my people. I'm gonna, whatever. I was being the I guess an anti-elitist to elitist in some ways.
Got it. Also experiencing a little bit of that winter shock that your parents had.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There was that too.
Fort Worth can, but not really.
Right.
Get cold.
Yeah. But eventually, I figured out my people there, and found my group of like blockmates and roommates who were great, and ended up having a good time.
What years were you in college?
2003 to 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got out in 4 years. Did you graduate?
I did graduate.
Okay.
Yeah, I graduated. I was a computer science major.
Okay.
And, the first time I actually came out to San Francisco was a summer during college, and I've always kind of wanted to live in San Francisco, especially growing up in Fort Worth, right?
We'll dig into that.
Yeah, but it's just, San Francisco was always this vision of paradise in my mind, and so I had this chance to visit. My summer after my junior year, I was doing an internship, and they had like a trip for like a few days, and I was like, I'm definitely gonna go.
First time?
That was my first time.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, I think technically I came to San Francisco with my parents when I was like 4, but I don't remember that.
No.
But yeah, I just fell in love. It was exactly what I had in my mind, and I was like, I gotta get out here as fast as I can.
Can we rewind just a little bit?
Yeah.
Because you said that San Francisco, even before you came here, you already had an idea of it. Where did that come from, do you think?
It's gotta just be like culture, media, and the internet, the fledgling years of the internet, right? And it just felt like San Francisco was where all the cool shit was happening. It was both in the tech world, because I was like a tech geek, right? So there's that world of it, but then also, skateboarding culture was huge then. There just like the LGBTQ rights movement was huge then, and everything that felt cutting edge, both from a tech standpoint, but also from a social justice, like where our society should be standpoint, was San Francisco. And Fort Worth, again, I have no complaints about my childhood, but it was slow and backwards feeling to some extent, right? And so I want to get out. This is where I want to be.
Yeah. Were there any other candidates of where to go?
In San Francisco,
Candidate cities?
I mean, I ended up being in New York for a bit, but it's
Okay.
funny, like even in New York, there's also just this vibe thing. Like San Francisco's chill and laid back, which is me. And I remember I was in New York because my wife was going to school at Cornell, law school at Cornell.
Yeah.
So I was kind of by coastal for a little bit. And
Ithaca, right?
yeah, she was in Ithaca.
Ithaca is gorgeous.
Yes. And her friends would always be like, "Oh yeah, he's definitely a California guy, right? You guys live there." So I think I just didn't vibe exactly. So it was always SF for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a not totally dissimilar story. After I graduated UT, I knew I wanted to live in either New York or San Francisco. I went to New York because the woman I was dating lived there.
Yeah.
And to this day, I absolutely love New York. Living there for a year, somewhere along that time, I was like, I love New York. It doesn't love me back.
Yeah.
And I visited a good friend who was out here, and that was it. I was like, this is what I should have chosen to begin with. And you were right. It's 100%. I like to think of it as a speed, right? And also, I believe, probably still and probably long before I was there, in New York, almost every aspect of life is competitive.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's just not me. I'm much more like, let's all like lift each other up.
Let's hang. I mean, that's the thing. In New York, you go hang out with people. Everyone's got like 5 things they're doing that evening.
Right.
They're just like giving you 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I feel like in San Francisco, and this is something I've really come to appreciate more since I've come to live here, it's just this perfect mix between all the things that you get in a big city, like the culture and the art and just like interesting people, but with this feeling of a community where everyone knows each other, which I love. I mean, especially I live in Dubois Triangle, and I know all my neighbors. And that's something that you don't really get in New York. People are so many people there are constant transplants.
Yeah.
They're like transient.
I hear they have good burritos, but I'm not ready to
In
give
New
them
York?
that yet. That's what now. What I will say is that we have better pizza. And I've heard like San Francisco born and raised folks say like in the last 20, 30 years, that's the number one thing about SF is like we have way better pizza than we used to. Not saying it's better than New York, but like we've come a long way in
I think
our
we
pizza.
got solid pizza here now.
Really good pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said, so after Harvard, is that when you went to New York for a little bit? Or
So after Harvard, I lived in New York for a little, about a year.
Okay. Like 07 or 8 kind of?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, 08, basically. And then I moved out.
Something interesting happened in 08. Couple interesting things happened.
Yeah. And then I moved out to SF in the beginning of 2009.
Okay.
Pretty much the first chance I could get because I was working in New York. I quit my job and I started. I don't even call it a startup because it was a small business. It was like me and a friend of mine.
Okay.
Just trying to build this wireframing tool together.
Yeah.
And we could have done it in New York, but I was like, no, we're gonna go San Francisco and do this.
I know a place.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's also Obama.
Obama happened in 08. Yeah.
So a very different time, both from right before and from where the hell we are now. Okay, well, so you landed in 09 and wanting, like having an impression of a place and then putting down roots or even just moving there, whatever your plans are a little bit different, right? There's some reality that hits. So when you came here, did you have a plan and what was it?
No, I didn't have a plan. And this is back, I can't remember if it was before Google Maps or I didn't have a smartphone. So there was no mapping.
Okay.
Right. And
MapQuest.
Yeah, there was MapQuest.
Print out your MapQuest.
I used to print out the maps.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know the city. And so I'd say the biggest shock for me was when I first came out here, we were just trying to find cheap housing. And so I ended up living in Park Merced.
Oh, right. That's the corner.
Yeah. And I was like, this is less of a city than I was expecting, I guess. And then I still remember the first time I came out to the Mission for some event. And I was like, all right, I found the city. This is where we're at.
That was Saikat Chakrabarti. We recorded this episode at Dubois Park Cafe in Dubois Triangle. Check back this Thursday for part 2 with Saikat, available wherever you get podcasts. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Our contributing producer is Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 8th season, we have more than 280 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If possible, please rate and review the show. I want to know what you think. Find us on Substack for our monthly newsletter and more. And follow us on Instagram and Threads at storiedsf. Reach us there or email us at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Try to stay hopeful in these dark times. Keep being wacky, creative, and kind out there. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco. We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts.